My experiences of stroke started as a 6-year-old kid when my father had a stroke, but we never called it a stroke, it was an act of God. My dad was pretty severely paralysed down the whole of the left-hand side of his body, which meant basically we cared for him from a very young age. I remembered seeing this really strong Irish man in Bellevue holding me above his head in the sunlight, big and strong and beautiful, incredibly good looking and slim, and a few days later I remember walking into a hospital and seeing him in a bed with his face twisted down one side like that, thinking, what's going on with me, Dad? Looking back now, you realise that ultimately that stroke fundamentally shaped the way I think about the world. It's like you took a stone into a pond, the ripples that come out spread far and wide. And I think the ripples from my father's stroke, for me personally, had a very heavy impact because of my age. I set up a poetry group with a group of people who'd suffered from stroke in Gorton. I wanted to work with people who suffered from stroke because I find these people inspirational, heroic, 10 times stronger than what I am. Because they've been to the edge and stared into the abyss, they've got great poems.
We're not into poetry, neither me or Mary, but we thought, we'll give it a try. Me more so than Mary has been so surprised because I love it. It opens your mind. I think everybody came with the same idea that poetry is... But Mike gives you an insight into it. You feel that you're going to look at something now. When you read something, you're looking more into it. And that's all down to Mike, I think, because he's making us think more than we did in the past.
I've absolutely loved it. Now, I've got a pad next to me. I'm thinking of lines all the time. I'm writing stuff down. It takes me ages to write it, but I'm writing stuff down. And I've probably got about 10 different poems on the go now, and it's given me a change.
I don't think many stroke survivors would have thought that they'd be able to write poetry after the stroke because their brain's so damaged, and yet they've written this beautiful poem and it's something that they can achieve.
I didn't really know what to expect, and it's perhaps making me think, which is not something I tend to be doing at the moment. Sort of using my brain, something I seem to have switched off. Just sit there and take day by day, but I don't seem to have a purpose.
The poetry group has made me sit and think. To pull them words out is really more difficult than it used to be. You think about your stroke all the time, not about other things, so it's been really good for that. Really good for your concentration.
I would think it'll help other stroke survivors as much as it's helped me if they came down and give it a chance. It's a real eye-opener. You wouldn't have thought that 5 weeks ago I'd be able to come and sit down and have a talk and a laugh and do poetry. Dear oh dear. You know, if I was at school and I told my friends, oh, I'm going to poetry lessons, I think they'd be a great big raspberry. But this, perfect. And it'll help people if they're given a chance. Yes.
I just think if there'd have been something like this around when my dad was at the depth of depression and turning to alcohol and prescription drugs, I just think stuff like this would have kept him going. Because in them days, it was just day centres, and we took him to day centre, it was just people dribbling. With the Stroke Association, when I go into the cafe, Stroke Cafe, or when I go into the group there, it's a laugh. People are laughing, people are having fun, people are taking the piss out of each other and just getting on with their lives, and it makes them realise that they're not on their own. It makes them realise that other people are like them. And ultimately, as human beings, we want people who are like us. We want to share our experiences with people who are similar to us.
I know it sounds silly, but I do like my own company. I read a lot. and I don't go out. I don't have to, I don't want to, I would like reading. But when I come out here then, I hear other people, because I'm not saying it's nice to know that other people suffer, I'm just saying it's nice to hear other people's stories.
Some of the poetry I've read today and what I've listened to just now, it's really sort of thinking that might come again next week. It brings you to think about what happens in your own life.
I think for the guys and girls who have done the poems and they've just said what we was feeling, which seemed weird because you feel like you're on your own, and it makes me feel better leaving here knowing that I'm not on my own and there's other people in the same situation, in worse situations, and it just gives me comfort that there is people who with the same feelings.
Stroke. It strikes like a bolt from the blue. It affects each life through and through. The pain and the anguish makes family and friends wish that life could be normal again. It's a clot in the vein that leads to the brain and leaves one helpless and down. But please don't despair, there's someone to care. It's the folk from the Stroke Association.
My first attempt, Truth Hurts. Can't help it but brain goes on strike. Something happened when I was doing alright. The outside's okay, but the inside's not right. I was a lucky one, but still parts took flight into a world that's covered with fright. Few people care and fewer can see just what this stroke has done to me. Life is a front now, it has to be. A smile, a kiss and a chirpy old me. It's only what they're expected of me. The struggle annoyingly won't go away. The face goes on for another day. If they only knew, instead they only see just how bad this shit is for me.
So working with people who have suffered from stroke and survived through stroke has made me realise that no matter what happens to you, we must keep going and we must find beauty and strength from every single experience. And the experiences I've had with the people who've suffered from stroke has been life-changing. And I thank every single one of them for their beauty and their kindness towards me in the last few months when I've been talking shite about poems to them.